Hey guys, welcome back to Sleep into Power. I am NJ. Let me tell you, there is a version of wealth that almost never announces itself. It does not need to. It is felt in the silence of a home above the Mediterranean, in a morning with nowhere you need to be, in the quiet certainty that almost every door you walk toward will already be open before your hand reaches it. It does not arrive with noise. It does not arrive with logos, or engines revving in a square, or a photograph taken to be shown to somebody else. It arrives as a kind of stillness, a slowness, a way of moving through the world as though time itself has been paid for in advance, and nobody is going to come and take it back. Most people encounter Monaco from the outside. They arrive by train from Nice or by road along the Basse Corniche, and they walk through the streets with their heads tilted upward, looking at balconies they will never stand on, at yachts they will never board, at windows glowing gold above them in the evening, while they walk back down toward the station. Tonight you are not going to be one of them. Tonight you are not visiting Monaco. You are not admiring it. You are not standing outside the photograph looking in. Tonight you live there. You have lived there for years. The view from your terrace is not a wonder to you. It is simply what you see when you open the doors in the morning. The harbor is not a spectacle. It is where your boat is kept. The stone beneath your feet has been warm under your feet 1,000 times before. And so, before anything else, let your body begin to settle. Let your shoulders drop away from your ears. Let your jaw loosen. Let your hands rest wherever they have fallen, and let them stay there. Take one slow breath in through the nose. Hold it gently for a moment, and release it slowly, letting the day you have just finished fall away from you with the air. Again, in slowly, and out. Notice how the room around you begins to soften at the edges, how the sounds outside your window are already becoming less important, how your body is heavier than it was a minute ago. You do not have to hold anything now, not tomorrow, not what happened today, not the small unfinished thoughts still moving quietly at the back of your mind. All of it can wait until morning, and morning is a long way from here. Just before we begin the journey, a few quiet words. If tonight speaks to something in you, the Sleep into Power book explores the ideas underneath these narrations in much greater depth. It looks at how sleep, imagination, subconscious programming, and identity shape the way we think and feel, and how the thoughts we carry into the night quietly influence the way we approach our lives when we wake. You can find it through the link in the description. Sleep into Power is also on Spotify, if you would like these long-form journeys somewhere else in your evening. There is a second channel as well, Meditate into Power, where you will find guided meditations, mindfulness, ambient relaxation, sleep experiences, and other calming content for the quieter parts of your day. And if you enjoy this channel and would like to support it directly, there is a Buy Me a Coffee link waiting whenever you feel like it. It genuinely helps these long nights of work continue. That is all. Nothing else is required of you tonight. Now let the room you are lying in begin to disappear. The walls soften. The ceiling drifts. The bed beneath you becomes something else entirely. And somewhere very far from here, in a small country pressed between mountains and a blue sea, it is already morning. You wake without an alarm. There is no sound to pull you out of sleep, no buzzing, no urgency, no voice from another room. You simply surface, the way a swimmer surfaces, slowly, from something deep and warm and unhurried. For a moment, you do not open your eyes at all. You lie there in the half-light and listen. Somewhere below and quite far away, a boat engine turns over and then settles into a low, patient hum. A gull calls once, and then again, further off. There is a faint metallic sound of rigging tapping against a mast, carried up on the air from the harbor, so soft it might be something you are remembering rather than hearing. And behind all of it, underneath all of it, there is silence. The particular silence of a building made of thick stone, high above a city, with the sea on one side of it and a mountain at its back. You open your eyes. The light in the room is pale and gold at once. It comes through tall linen curtains that move very slightly in the air, breathing in and out with the morning, brightening and dimming the room in a slow rhythm you have long since stopped noticing. The ceiling above you is high. The walls are cream stone, cool and smooth, the color of the cliffs outside. There is dark wood at the foot of the bed, old and polished, the kind of wood that has been touched by many hands over many years and has become better for it. The sheets are linen, heavy and cool against your skin. They have been washed 100 times and have become soft in the way only good linen becomes soft. You move one leg and feel them shift over you, and for a moment you do not want to leave them at all. You do not have to. That is the first thing your mind understands, before it understands anything else. There is nowhere you have to be. No meeting waiting to punish you for lateness. No commute forming outside. No sequence of obligations already stacking up behind the door. The day in front of you is entirely empty, and it is yours. You lie still for a while longer, and let that fact settle over you like the sheets themselves. On the bedside table, there is a watch. It is not there to be looked at. It is simply where you put it last night, face down, the way you always do. It is a plain thing, gold gone slightly warm with age, a leather strap darkened at the buckle. It belonged to someone before you. You wear it most days without thinking about it, the way other people wear a wedding ring. Beside it, an old photograph in a silver frame. The silver has been polished so many times that the edges have gone soft. The photograph is black and white and slightly out of focus, taken somewhere with pine trees and water. The people in it are laughing at something outside the frame that nobody now alive remembers. You look at it for a moment, the way you look at it most mornings. Then you sit up. The stone floor is cool under your bare feet, and then, 2 steps further on, where the light has already reached it, it is warm. You cross the room slowly. There is art on the walls. Not very much of it. A small painting of a harbor, dark and thickly worked, bought a long time ago by someone who liked it, rather than someone who was told it was important. A drawing in pencil, framed simply. A shelf of books whose spines have been broken by actual reading. Nothing in this room was chosen to be seen by anyone else. Everything in it was chosen because it was liked. That is a distinction most people never get to make, and you no longer notice that you have made it. At the far end of the room there are 2 tall doors, glass and dark wood, with the linen curtains hanging on either side of them. You take hold of the handle. It is brass and cool in your palm. You have turned it thousands of times. You open the doors, and the morning comes in. Warm air moves past you into the room, carrying salt and stone and something green from the terrace planting. The sound of the city rises up to meet you, softened by distance into something almost musical. You step outside. The terrace stone is warm beneath your bare feet, already holding the sun. You cross it slowly and rest your hands on the low wall at its edge, and you look out. Below you is Monaco. The hillside falls away in tiers of pale limestone and glass. Balconies stacked upon balconies, awnings not yet unfurled, shutters still closed on windows where other people are still sleeping, bougainvillea spilling in dark pink over a wall 3 floors down, a single palm tree, absolutely still, and below all of that, Port Hercule. The harbor lies in a long protected curve, and in it the yachts are resting, white and enormous, and almost completely motionless. Their decks are empty at this hour. Their tenders sit alongside them like sleeping animals. The water between them is so flat that each hull is doubled, perfectly, in dark blue glass. Beyond the harbor wall, the Mediterranean opens out and simply keeps going. It is a deeper blue further out, almost black where the depth changes, and where it meets the sky, there is a band of haze that makes it impossible to say exactly where the sea ends. To your right, on the far side of the port, the rock rises. The old town sits on top of it, pale and compact, and at its edge is the prince's palace, its windows catching the early light, the flag above it hanging almost straight down in the windless morning. The sun is still low. It is touching only the highest balconies and the rooftops and the tops of the masts, leaving the streets below in cool blue shadow. As you watch, the line of light moves down another few feet, and another row of windows begins to glow. Somewhere across the water, a bell rings. Not a warning, not an announcement. Just a bell, marking an hour that nobody down there is in a hurry about. Birds cross beneath you. That is the strange thing about being this high. The birds are below you, moving in slow arcs over the rooftops, and you look down onto their backs. Far underneath, at the bottom of the hill, there is the faint sound of traffic. A scooter changing gear, a car door closing, a delivery van reversing somewhere near the Condamine market. The sounds are so small and so far away that they belong to a different world, and they reach you the way weather reaches you, as something happening in the distance to somebody else. You breathe in salt, warm stone, coffee from somewhere below, the faint, clean smell of water that has been moving all night. And here is the thing. None of this is extraordinary to you. You are not standing here amazed. You are not taking a photograph. You are not thinking about how far you have come, or what this must be worth, or who you should tell. You have stood on this terrace hundreds of mornings. You have watched this exact light move down these exact rooftops in every season. You know which yacht has been in that berth since March. You know that the bell you just heard is always a few minutes late. You know the sound the awnings make at 11 when they finally come down. This view is not a prize you won. It is simply what your home looks like. And that ordinariness, that complete absence of astonishment, is the most luxurious thing about the entire morning. You stand there a little longer with your hands on the warm stone, and your breathing slows to match the sea. There is nothing to do next. There is only what you choose to do next, which is an entirely different thing. Behind you, quietly, breakfast has appeared on the terrace table. You did not hear it happen. You rarely do. There is a low table of pale wood beneath the shade of an awning, and on it now there is a pot of coffee, still steaming faintly into the still air, and a small jug of milk, and a heavy glass of cold water with condensation already gathering on its sides. There is a bowl of fruit. Figs split open, dark and sweet. Peaches with the skin still slightly rough. A few strawberries, small ones, the kind that actually taste of something. There is warm bread, torn rather than sliced, and a dish of butter, and a little honey in a glass jar, with a wooden spoon resting in it. Perhaps eggs, soft and pale yellow, in a white dish. Nothing complicated, nothing arranged to be photographed. Everything simple, everything exceptional. You sit down. The chair is teak, worn smooth, and it has been in the sun long enough to be warm through your shirt. You pour the coffee slowly and watch the color deepen in the cup. The first sip is very hot and very good, and you close your eyes for a moment while you drink it. Nobody speaks to you. Nobody needs anything from you. Your phone is somewhere inside, face down, on a shelf, and it will stay there for a while yet. There is no inbox climbing quietly through the morning waiting to be answered. There is no message from anyone who could ruin your day. Whatever has happened in the world overnight will still have happened at 10 o'clock, and at 11, and it will not be improved by your looking at it now. This is the part that people from the outside never quite understand about a life like this. They think about the apartment, they think about the yacht in the harbor, and the car in the garage below, and the tailoring, and the address. But you could lose all of that and rebuild it. Things can be replaced. The rarest thing you own is not the apartment beneath your feet. It is the morning itself, whole and unbroken, belonging to no one but you. Nobody has a claim on the next 4 hours. Nobody can ring a bell and take them from you. There is no arrangement in which someone else decides what happens between now and lunch. That is what the money actually bought in the end. Not marble, not a view, hours. You break a piece of bread and eat it slowly, and you watch Monaco wake up beneath you. It happens gradually. Shutters open on a balcony below and to the left, and a woman comes out to water something in a pot and goes back inside. A man in a white shirt walks a very small dog along the pavement 3 streets down, stopping every few meters, entirely unbothered by the delay. On the harbor, a crew member appears on the aft deck of one of the yachts and begins, without any evident hurry, to polish a section of rail. Another crosses a gangway carrying folded towels. A tender detaches itself from a hull, turns in its own length, and moves off toward the quay, leaving a long, clean line behind it in the flat water. The light continues its slow descent down the buildings. The shadows in the streets shorten. The sea changes from silver to blue as the sun clears the ridge above the city. There is a newspaper on the table, folded, still stiff. You open it and read for a while, not with any real intention, mostly for the pleasure of turning paper. An article about an exhibition in Basel, something about a vineyard, the shipping pages, which you read for no reason at all except that you always have. After a while you put it down and pick up a book instead. It is one you have read before. You find your place, and read a few pages, and then find yourself looking at the horizon rather than the page, and you let that happen too. Then, eventually, you simply sit, doing nothing. Not resting between activities, not recovering from anything, not preparing for anything, simply sitting in the shade of an awning, high above a harbor, with warm stone under your feet and coffee cooling beside you, and the whole Mediterranean stretched out in front of you, doing absolutely nothing at all, for as long as you like. Notice how your own breathing has slowed just from following this. Notice how your body, wherever you are lying right now, has begun to sink a little further into the bed. There is no rush here, not in Monaco, and not in the room you are actually lying in. Both places have agreed to move slowly tonight. The bell across the harbor rings again. Another hour has gone somewhere, and you did not chase it. You finish the water in the heavy glass. You stand and stretch once, and the warm air moves around you. And then, because you feel like it, and for no other reason, you decide how the day will go. Not a plan. Nothing written down, just a shape, a drive down into town, coffee in the square, the harbor afterwards, because it is a beautiful day and the water is flat and it would be a shame to waste it. That is the whole schedule. It could change entirely by 11 o'clock, and nothing would be lost. You go back inside. The bedroom is cooler than the terrace and dimmer, and it takes your eyes a moment to adjust. The curtains lift and fall in the draft from the open doors. You cross to the dressing room and open the wardrobe. The door makes a single quiet click, and then a soft sound of weight moving on good hinges. Inside, everything is calm. Jackets hanging with space between them. Shirts folded and stacked on cedar shelves. Shoes in a row on a low rack, each one holding its shape. There is a faint smell of cedar and clean cotton, and something else, older, the smell that wool keeps. There is not very much here. That surprises people when they see it. There is no wall of possibilities. There is no sense of accumulation. There are perhaps 15 things in this wardrobe that you actually wear, and you have worn them for years, and you will wear them for years more, and each of them was made properly by someone whose name is on nothing visible. You take out a white shirt. The cotton is cool against your hands as you unfold it. Heavy poplin, thick enough to hold its own shape, soft at the collar from being worn. You put it on and feel the coolness move over your shoulders and down your back, and then the small resistance of each button. Cream trousers next. Light wool, cut a little loose, falling exactly where they should over the top of the foot. They have been altered once, years ago, by a man in London who is no longer alive. You sit on a low bench and put on the loafers. Dark brown leather, polished so many times that the color has gone deep and slightly uneven, the way good leather goes. The heel gives way slightly as you push your foot in. They have taken the shape of your feet completely. There is nothing in the world more comfortable than a shoe that has known you for a decade. A navy blazer from the far end of the rail. Soft-shouldered, unstructured. It weighs almost nothing. When you put it on, it settles across your back like something exhaling. Perhaps a fine cashmere layer over your arm, for later, when the sea gets cool in the evening. It is the color of oatmeal, and it is going slightly thin at one elbow, and you have no intention of replacing it. On the tray by the mirror, there are 2 or 3 watches. You pick one up almost without looking, the gold one from the bedside, warm from the room, and you feel its small weight settle on your wrist as you fasten the strap. There are no logos anywhere on you, nothing on the chest of the shirt, nothing on the shoes, nothing on the buttons of the blazer that would tell anyone anything. If a stranger looked at you in the street, they would be able to say only that you were well-dressed and difficult to place, and could not say by whom, or for how much, or from where. That is entirely the point. You stand in front of the mirror. And here is the difference, the one that cannot be bought and can only be lived into. You do not need anything from the mirror. You are not searching your reflection for approval. You are not turning slightly to check an angle. You are not trying to see yourself the way a room might see you. You simply look and adjust a cuff and turn away. There is no performance waiting for you outside this door. Nobody out there is going to be assessing you, and if they were, it would not change what you did next. The confidence in this apartment is not the confidence of someone who has proved something. It is quieter than that. It is the confidence of someone who long ago stopped needing to. I know who I am. That is all it says. Not look at what I own, not notice me. Just, I know who I am, and I am not required to explain it to anybody today. You take your keys from the dish by the door. The apartment behind you goes still again. The curtains move. The doors to the terrace stay open, because there is no reason to close them. You step out into the hall and the door settles shut behind you with a heavy, expensive, entirely silent motion. The lift is paneled in dark wood, with a mirror at the back, and a small bench nobody has ever sat on. It moves downward so smoothly that you can only tell by the change of pressure in your ears. The lobby is cool and almost silent. Pale stone floor. A large arrangement of white flowers on a round table, replaced twice a week by a woman who arrives early and leaves before anyone is awake. High windows filtering the morning into something soft and diffuse. The faint sound of water from a stone basin somewhere near the entrance. The concierge looks up as you come out and smiles and says good morning and uses your name. You say his in return and ask after his daughter, who has exams this month. He tells you she is nervous and sleeping badly, and you say something about how quickly that passes, and he laughs. It takes 20 seconds. It happens most days. There is no bowing here, no performance of service. He is not smaller than you because he works in this building and you live in it. He has worked here for 11 years. He knows everything about everyone who lives on these floors, and he has never once mentioned any of it to anybody. That is a professional dignity, and you have always understood it as one. Familiarity then, not servitude. The doors open, and Monaco is warm and bright and already fully awake. The air outside hits you all at once. Heat off the pavement, salt, the green smell of watered planting. Somewhere close by, jasmine. A car is waiting at the curb, engine running, dark and low and clean. The driver is already stepping around it. You wave him back before he can reach the door, and open it yourself, because you always do, and he shakes his head slightly and smiles, because he always does. You get in. Leather closes around you. It is cool. The air inside is cool. The door shuts with a heavy, thick, single sound that seals the world out entirely, and the noise of the street disappears as though a hand has been placed over it. The engine is barely audible, a low sound underneath everything, more felt than heard. The car moves off. Monaco unfolds through the windows. You descend through the city in a long series of curves, pale limestone rising on both sides, balconies stacked in tiers above you, each one with its awning, its plants, its shutters half closed against the heat. You pass under an arch of palm trees whose shadows come through the windscreen in bands, light, dark, moving across your hands in your lap. Then a tunnel. The sound changes instantly, becomes enclosed and echoing, the engine note reflecting off tiled walls, the lights running past overhead in a fast rhythm. Then out, and the light explodes back in, and there below you, between two buildings, is a slice of the Mediterranean, impossibly blue, gone again in a second, then another, and another, the sea appearing and disappearing between the architecture, like something being shown to you and taken away. A scooter passes on the inside, weaving neatly, a woman in a linen dress with a helmet and enormous sunglasses, entirely unhurried. On the pavements, people are walking slowly. Everyone in Monaco walks slowly. Nobody is late here. An older couple in white, arm in arm. A man in a pale suit talking on the phone, standing still to do it. Two women outside a bakery deciding on something with great seriousness. Down to your left, the harbor appears properly, and you look at the yachts from a new angle, their decks bright, tenders moving between them, the whole port glittering now that the sun is fully up. The road curves, the buildings open out, and ahead of you, the Casino de Monte Carlo rises into view. The pale facade with its green copper roofs and its ornamented towers, the sculpted figures along the top, the whole Belle Epoque theatricality of it standing at the end of the square, with total confidence, exactly as it has stood since 1863. In front of it, the gardens, the fountains, the circular sweep of road around the mirrored sculpture, the Hôtel de Paris on one side with its awnings and its flags, the terraces of the Café de Paris on the other, tables already filling, the sound of cups and cutlery, and 4 languages at once. Everything is immaculate. That is what strikes visitors first, and it is the thing they can never quite explain afterwards. Not the wealth, the maintenance. There is no litter, no cracked paving, no peeling paint, no graffiti. The flowers in the beds have been replaced before they had a chance to fade. The pavements were washed at 4 in the morning by men you have never seen. Everything here is kept. The car comes to a stop. You thank the driver and tell him you will call later, and he says he will be nearby, which he always is, and which is a whole philosophy in itself. You step out into the square. The heat comes up off the stone. The fountains make their soft, continuous noise underneath everything. Palm leaves move slightly, dry and papery, high above your head. A valet in white gloves takes a set of keys from someone stepping out of a low blue car and slides into the driver's seat and takes it away. And the whole exchange happens in perhaps 8 seconds without a single unnecessary word. You begin to cross the square. There are people here, quite a lot of them. A group standing in front of the casino, arranging themselves for a photograph, laughing, moving apart and back together. A family with a guidebook, 2 young men in bright clothes, filming a car that is not theirs. Somebody nearby raises a phone to photograph the square. You barely notice. You are already inside the photograph. You will be in the corner of it, out of focus. A figure in a navy blazer crossing from left to right. And someone in another country will look at that picture next week and see the casino and the palms and the light, and never once wonder who you were. You are not looking at any of this. You are not looking up at the facade. You do not turn to watch the blue car arrive. You are crossing the square because the cafe is on the other side of it, and you would like a coffee. That is all this place is to you today. A route. A crossing, somewhere between where you were and where you are going. The most famous square on the Mediterranean, and you are walking through it the way other people walk through their local high street, thinking about something else entirely. Notice how that feels. Not superiority, nothing so effortful as that. Just familiarity. The particular calm of a place having been made ordinary by repetition. You reach the far side and turn along the terrace, and out of the shade of the arcade, a man in a white jacket sees you coming and raises a hand. He does not ask if you have a reservation. He simply turns and looks at a table near the edge, in the shade, at the end where it is quieter, and looks back at you with a small question in his eyebrows, and you nod. You sit down. The chair is wicker, and it creaks slightly. The marble tabletop is cool under your forearm. From here you can see the whole length of the terrace, and past it the gardens, and past those the corner of the casino, and beyond everything, in the gap between two roofs, a wedge of hard blue sea. He does not ask what you would like. He brings a coffee, and a small glass of sparkling water beside it, and a tiny biscuit on the saucer that you will not eat. And he puts them down, and says something about the heat, and you agree that it is early in the year for it, and he moves away. You sit back. The sound of the terrace washes over you. French, quick and low, from the table behind. Italian, much louder, from a group of 4 men who appear to be arguing happily about something that has already been decided. English, in 3 or 4 different accents. A fragment of Russian, something Scandinavian. A woman speaking Arabic on the phone in a voice so gentle that it sounds like she is telling somebody a story. Nobody is shouting. Even the Italians are not really shouting. At a table further along, 2 men in shirt sleeves are talking quietly, one making small marks on a folded piece of paper with a pen. Something is being agreed. It will be worth an enormous amount to somebody. It is being done in the shade, over coffee, in the tone of voice you would use to discuss the weather. That is how it is actually done, when it is done at this level. Not in glass rooms, not with presentations. 2 people who already trust each other, at a table, in the sun. People greet each other as they pass, a hand on a shoulder, 2 kisses, a name said with real warmth. Somebody stops at a table for 30 seconds and moves on. Nothing is rushed. Nobody is checking a watch. Your own phone vibrates once against the marble. You turn it over. It is a message from your advisor in Geneva. It is 1 line long. It says that the matter you discussed on Tuesday has been dealt with. That is all. No figure, no explanation, no document attached, no decision required from you. It has been taken care of. You read it once and place the phone face down again on the table. And that is the end of your involvement with money for the day. Take a moment with that, because it is the least visible and most important thing in this entire story. There is no arithmetic happening anywhere in your morning. There is no calculation running quietly behind your thoughts. There is no part of you keeping a tally, checking a balance, dividing something by the number of days left in the month. You did not look at the price of the coffee. You will not look at the bill, which will be settled by the same arrangement it is always settled by. You do not know what the coffee costs, and you have not known for a very long time, and the not knowing is not arrogance. It is simply that the number is not information. It changes nothing. It is like knowing the weight of the cup. Your attention returns to the sunlight on the stone. A fountain is running somewhere behind you. Palm shadows move very slowly across the terrace. The coffee is exactly the right temperature now, and your breathing, wherever you are, has slowed again. Later, you walk down toward the water. It is not far. Nothing in Monaco is far. The whole country is smaller than most airports, and you can cross it on foot in half an hour if you are unhurried, which you are. You go down through the gardens, and then down a flight of shallow steps in the shade, and then along a street where the buildings lean close enough that the air between them stays cool. You can smell the harbor before you see it. Seawater first, not the clean open smell of the sea itself, but the thicker, closer, greener smell of a working port. Warm rope, diesel, faintly. Something being cooked somewhere near the quay. Then the street opens, and Port Hercule is in front of you at eye level for the first time today, and the scale changes completely. From the terrace this morning, the yachts were models on a mirror. Down here they are buildings. You walk along the quay and they rise beside you, one after another, white hulls going up and up, 3 decks, 4, the flare of a bow curving out over your head, windows tinted dark, names in gold across the stern, in a lettering style that has not changed in 50 years. Ports of registry in smaller letters underneath. Cayman, Valletta, Georgetown. Masts stand above the smaller boats further along, a whole forest of them, and the halyards tap against the aluminium in the breeze, hundreds of them slightly out of time with one another, making that light metallic percussion that you can hear all the way up the hill on quiet nights. Ropes as thick as your arm lie coiled on the stone in perfect flat spirals. Fenders hang in neat lines. Passerelles reach across the water from stern to quay with small chains on either side. Everything is being cleaned. That is what the harbor is, mostly, at this hour. Crew in white polo shirts and shorts, working steadily, wiping salt from rails, coiling a hose, polishing glass. They work almost without speaking. Occasionally somebody laughs somewhere out of sight. A tender crosses the harbor, low and fast and quiet, throwing a wake that spreads out slowly behind it, and the reflections of a dozen hulls tremble and break and then, gradually, become still again. The water in the port is not the blue of the open sea. It is deeper and darker, almost green in the shadows of the hulls, and so clear that you can see the chain of a mooring dropping away beneath the surface until it disappears. Flags move in the wind at the sterns. Monaco's red and white, a French tricolour on a smaller boat, a blue ensign further along. You keep walking, and near the middle of the quay you turn. Your own boat is not the largest here. It is not close to the largest here. It is a long, low, elegant thing, dark blue below the rail and white above, with varnished wood along the deckhouse, that has been kept properly for 30-odd years. It was built by a yard in Italy, for somebody who cared more about how a hull moved through water than about how many people could stand on it. It is not new. It has never been new in your ownership. It has been maintained the way a good house is maintained, quietly and continuously, and at considerable expense, and it will still be here long after you are not. You have never once thought about impressing anyone with it. Most of the people who could tell what it is do not need to be impressed, and most of the people who would be impressed cannot tell. The captain is on the aft deck. He sees you and comes down the passerelle and shakes your hand and asks how you are. You look at the water. It is flat, absolutely flat, out past the harbor wall, all the way to the horizon, with a light haze sitting on it. You ask him whether he has anything on this afternoon. He says no. You say, "In that case, shall we take her out for lunch?" And he says yes, and turns, and that is the entire arrangement. Nothing else is required. There is no booking, no planning, no arrangement made 3 weeks ago in a group message, no calculation about the cost of fuel, or whether it can be justified, or whether this counts as a special enough occasion to be worth it. There is no occasion. It is Tuesday, and the sea is flat, and it would be a waste of a beautiful day not to. That is the luxury, not the boat, the spontaneity, the ability to have an idea at 11:30 and be doing it by noon, without asking anybody, and without a single number entering your mind at any point in the process. You step aboard. The deck moves very slightly under your weight, and then settles. There are white cushions on the aft seating, and low tables of varnished wood, and shade under a canopy. You take off the blazer, and lay it over the back of a seat, where it will stay for the rest of the day. Somewhere below, an engine turns over, and then another, and a low vibration begins in the soles of your feet. Lines are lifted from the bollards on the quay, and coiled in one movement, and the boat begins to move. It goes astern first, very slowly, a meter at a time, water turning over dark and heavy at the stern. Then it turns, and the whole harbor swings past you. The quay, the tiers of buildings, the rock, all of it rotating gently around the boat, as though Monaco is the thing that is moving. Then you are heading out, and the harbor walls pass on either side, and beyond them, the sea. The moment you clear the entrance, everything changes. The water darkens, the light gets harder and brighter, the wind arrives, warm and steady, and starts moving over the deck. The engines take on a different note as the throttles go forward, and the vibration under your feet becomes deeper and more constant, and a wake begins to open behind you in a long white V that spreads out across the blue and slowly disappears. You turn to look back, and Monaco does the thing it only does from the water. From the land, Monaco is streets and buildings. From the sea, it is a single object, and you can finally see what it actually is. The whole city rises out of the coastline in one vertical sweep, tiers of pale stone and glass climbing from the water's edge straight up the face of the mountain. Not built on the land, built against it, wedged into the last narrow shelf between the rock and the Mediterranean, every meter of it used. The rock stands out on the left with the palace on its crown, small now, pale against the darker mountain behind. Above and behind everything, the Tête de Chien rises grey and enormous, and higher still, the ridgeline of the Alpes Maritimes goes back in layers of blue, getting paler as they go, until the furthest is barely distinguishable from the sky. Sunlight flashes off 1,000 windows at once, and off the water between you and the shore, in a hard, restless glitter that you have to look slightly away from. The city gets smaller. The sound of it is already gone. There is only wind, and engine, and water. You sit down on the white cushions in the shade. Somebody brings cold drinks, water with ice and lemon, beading immediately in the heat. A bottle in a bucket, if you want it, which you do not particularly, not yet. You bend down and take off the loafers, and set them neatly to one side, and put your bare feet flat against the deck. The teak is warm, almost too warm. It holds the heat, and gives it back through the soles of your feet, and there is grit of dried salt in the grain that you can feel very faintly. The boat moves under you in a long, slow, easy rhythm as it crosses the swell. Rise, settle, rise, settle. Your body adjusts to it without being asked, and everything slows down. Notice how far you already are from the room you are lying in. Notice how heavy your arms have become. Notice that you are breathing more slowly than you were, and that your body has taken on the rhythm of that swell without deciding to. Rise, settle, rise, settle. Out here, with the coastline pulling away and nothing ahead but blue, something becomes very clear, and it becomes clear to everyone eventually who arrives at this kind of life. When every material need can be answered, life becomes strangely simple again. You would expect the opposite. You would expect that once everything is available, everything becomes complicated, an endless menu, a permanent question of what to choose. But it does not go that way. Once anything is possible, almost all of it turns out not to matter, and what is left is very small and very old. Sunlight, water, time, good food, eaten slowly, good conversation with 2 or 3 people you actually like, sleep, silence. The list does not get longer as the money increases. It gets shorter. It gets shorter until it is a list that a fisherman on this same coast 400 years ago would have recognized completely. That is the joke at the center of all of it, and nobody believes it until they are already here. You lean your head back against the cushion. The sun is on your feet. The wind is on your face. The engines are a steady hum somewhere beneath you, felt more than heard. And the coast begins to change. West of Monaco, the Riviera softens. The cliffs come down and the pine trees begin, dark green against the grey rock, and the coastline breaks into headlands and coves and small deep bays, where the water goes from blue to turquoise where the sand is. You pass beneath Cap d'Aile, where the villas sit low and half hidden. Roquebrune behind you now, the old village a smudge of ochre high on the hillside. The villas are the thing you notice most from out here, because from the road you cannot see them at all. There, a tiled roof, terracotta gone pink with age, showing through a stand of umbrella pines. A wall of pale stucco with 3 shuttered windows, and nothing else visible, and no way in from any direction you can see. A private staircase cut into the rock, zigzagging down to a small concrete platform at the water, with a ladder and a single blue chair on it. Cypress trees standing in dark vertical lines. Olive trees, grey-green and shifting in the wind. A pergola with something climbing over it. A glimpse of water in a pool that has been placed exactly where it will look like it is joining the sea. These are houses that took 100 years to hide this well. You round the point and Cap Ferrat opens up, low and long and completely covered in trees, one of the most expensive pieces of ground on Earth, and from the sea it looks like a wooded island with almost nothing on it. That is deliberate. The people here do not want to be seen from the water. Everything they own is set back behind the pines. The gates face away. The names are not on the gates. There are no numbers. High above, on the ridge, Eze sits on its rock, an entire medieval village stacked vertically on a crag 500 meters above the sea. So improbable that from down here, it looks like a growth on the stone, rather than a place where people live. Small boats pass, a wooden pontoon with an outboard, an old man in it alone, moving very slowly, in no way impressed by anything around him. A sailing yacht heeled slightly, canvas full, silent. 2 kayaks near the rocks. The captain slows. You come into a bay you have used many times, on the far side of the cap, where the rock shelters it from the swell, and there is nothing on shore but pines, and one small pale roof, high up among them. The engines drop to nothing. The anchor chain runs out, a long rattling clatter that echoes off the rock face, and then stops. And then silence, real silence. The kind you only get on a boat at anchor. Water moving against the hull in small irregular slaps. The chain creaking once. Cicadas, hundreds of them, from the pines on shore, making that dry, continuous sound the Mediterranean makes in the heat. And nothing else. Lunch is set on the aft deck, in the shade, on white cloth. A whole fish, grilled, the skin blistered and salted, brought out on a board, and filleted at the table without ceremony. Olive oil in a small jug, thick and green and slightly peppery, poured over it. Half a lemon. That is the entire sauce, and it is perfect. Bread torn from a loaf. Tomatoes with nothing on them but salt, tasting of sun. A dish of small purple olives. A green salad with too much oil, which is the correct amount. Cold mineral water, and a glass of something pale and very dry from just along the coast. So cold that the glass frosts instantly in the heat. You eat slowly, in your shirt sleeves, with your bare feet on warm teak, and the sea moving light across the underside of the canopy above you, in shifting nets of reflection. Nobody hurries the plates away. Afterwards, in the middle of the afternoon, with the heat at its heaviest, you go to the stern and stand on the swim platform, and the water is right there at your feet, clear enough to see the anchor chain going down and down into blue, and you go in. The cold of it is a shock for 1 second, and then it is not cold at all. It is exactly, perfectly right, and it closes over your head, and everything stops. Underwater, the world changes completely. The engine hum, the cicadas, the small noises of the deck, all of it is gone. There is only that deep, muffled pressure, that soft roar that is not really a sound, and the tick of bubbles going up past your ears. You open your eyes. The light comes down through the surface in long moving columns, bending and reforming, and where they reach the sand on the bottom, they make a net of pale gold that shifts constantly, never twice the same. The blue gets deeper further out, going from turquoise to sapphire to something almost black beyond the shelf of rock, and there are small fish there, silver, hanging absolutely still, and then all turning at once. And above you, the boat. That enormous thing, the whole weight and complexity and cost of it, is just a dark shape on the ceiling of the water, silent, small, from down here, almost nothing. You hang there weightless for a moment with your arms out, held by the sea, and there is no up and no down, and nothing at all being asked of you. Then you rise, you break the surface, and the sound comes back, and the light is very bright, and you push the water off your face and float on your back. The coastline surrounds you, pines above the rock, the pale scar of a path, the cliff going up warm and orange in the afternoon light. The sky enormous and absolutely empty of cloud. The boat rocking gently a few meters away with its blue hull dark in the water. You lie there floating, with your ears half submerged so the sea sounds close, and everything above the surface sounds far away, warm on your face, cool underneath. Nothing to do, nowhere to be, nobody expecting you. Feel your body float. Feel how completely it is supported, how little effort is being asked of it, how the water carries the whole weight of you without any help at all. That is exactly how your body is being held right now, wherever you are lying, completely supported, requiring nothing from you. You can let go into it the same way. Later, dry, in the shade, on the cushions, with salt drying tight on your skin and your hair still wet, you sit for a long time and think about very little. And in that stillness, something surfaces. Not as a thought exactly, more as a recognition. It is about what all of this actually is. Because the truth about wealth of this kind, the old kind, the quiet kind, is that it is not really about acquisition at all. It is about removal. Everything that has happened today has been a subtraction. Noise removed. Urgency removed. Explanation removed. Justification removed. The endless low-level negotiation with money that occupies most people's minds for most of their waking lives, removed entirely, so completely that its absence is not even noticed anymore. What is left is a life with very little in it. And that emptiness, that spaciousness, is the entire product new money adds. It adds cars and rooms and watches and photographs of cars and rooms and watches. It adds noise, because noise is proof, and proof is needed, because underneath it there is still a question that has not been answered. Old money subtracts. It has already answered the question several generations ago, and the answer has been quietly assumed ever since, and nobody in the family has had to raise their voice about it since before the war. You do not need every room to know your name. You do not need strangers to understand your life. You do not need to display security when you can feel it. You do not need to be recognized in order to be certain, and so a great deal falls away. You stop reacting. That is the first thing that goes. When nothing anybody says can materially damage you, you stop needing to answer it. Someone is wrong about you in public and you simply let them be wrong, and go to lunch, and the wrongness dissolves on its own within a week because nobody was paid attention to. You learn to wait. That is the second. The ability to wait is the single greatest financial advantage that exists, and it cannot be bought, only inherited or built. Everyone else must sell in the bad year. You do not have to sell in the bad year. You can wait 5 years, or 10, or 20, and the waiting itself does the work, and you learn to walk away from a deal, from a room, from a conversation, from a person, without a scene, without an explanation, simply not being there anymore. Discretion, continuity, patience. None of it looks like anything from the outside. That is the point. It is designed not to look like anything, but underneath it, running through all of it, is one single quality that everything else rests on. You are not internally hurried. There is no engine running in the back of your mind. No timer, no sense of something closing. No animal urgency about the future. That is the whole secret, and it is not really about money at all, which is why it can be practiced, in small ways, by anyone. Nothing important is being chased. Nothing meaningful needs to be forced. Say those quietly to yourself as you lie there. Nothing important is being chased. Nothing meaningful needs to be forced. Feel your shoulders come down another half-inch as you do. The boat rocks. The cicadas go on and on from the pines. The light on the water begins, very slightly, to change color. The anchor comes up in the late afternoon, and you turn east, back toward Monaco, into a light that has changed completely while you were not watching. The sun is behind you now, lower, and the whole coast has turned gold. The rock faces that were gray at noon are now warm apricot. The pines have gone black-green. The villas that were hidden all day suddenly reveal themselves, because their windows have caught the light and are burning orange up there in the trees, and you can see exactly where each one is. The sea has lost its glitter and gone smooth and heavy, dark blue with long, slow lines of swell moving under it, and where the light catches them, they are bronze. The wind has dropped. It is warm on the deck now, warm on your arms, and you put the cashmere over your shoulders anyway, because the air will change once the sun goes. Other boats are returning too. That is what happens on this coast in the last hour. Everyone comes home. Tenders running for the harbor with their bows up. A sailing boat with the sun through its mainsail. A big white yacht further out, heading east like you, moving with that slow inevitability that very large things have. Monaco reappears, at first as a pale mass at the base of the mountains, then as tiers, then as individual buildings, then, as you get closer, as thousands of windows, every one of them holding the low sun, so that the whole city looks briefly as though it is lit from inside. The palace on the rock is gold on its western face, and completely dark on the other. The mountains behind have gone deep blue, flattening into silhouette, and the ridgeline is very sharp against a sky that is turning from white to peach, to something warmer near the horizon. Shadows lie long across the harbor as you come in through the entrance. The masts throw stripes across the water. The quay is in shade now, and the buildings on the far side are still bright. The engines drop. The boat glides. The captain brings her alongside with almost no wake, the way he always does, and the lines go over, and there is that final small nudge as the fenders touch, and everything comes to rest. You put your shoes back on, you thank the crew, and mean it, and step across the passerelle onto the stone quay, and your legs still feel the sea in them for the first few steps, that slight unsteadiness that stays with you for an hour afterwards. The car is waiting at the top of the quay. You go home up through the town, through streets that are cooling now, past shops putting their lights on, past cafes where the tables are being reset for the evening, past a man watering the flowers outside a doorway with a hose in the last of the sun, the lift, the quiet hall, the heavy door. The apartment is warm and still and full of orange light lying in long bars across the stone floor, and the curtains are moving, because you left the terrace doors open all day, and nobody thought to close them. You shower, hot water on salt skin, the sea washing out of your hair, steam on cool stone. That particular deep tiredness of a day spent outdoors, which is not tiredness at all, but something closer to satisfaction living in the muscles. Afterwards, wrapped in something, you stand for a moment at the window with your hair wet, and watch the light going off the mountains, and then you dress for the evening. The wardrobe again. The same quiet click of the door. A dark suit this time. midnight blue rather than black, because black is too hard against the light here. The wool is fine and soft and falls straight. It has been made for you, and it has been remade twice over the years, and it fits in the way that only a thing made twice can fit. A white shirt, crisp, cool as you put your arms into it. The small ceremony of the buttons, the collar turned down. Black shoes, thin-soled, polished this afternoon by somebody in the building. The leather deep and mirror dark at the toe. A tie or no tie. It is Monaco in summer, no tie. Cufflinks from a small box. Plain gold ovals, slightly bent from decades of use. The same ones as always. They go through the cuff with the small resistance that always makes you concentrate for a second. Fragrance, applied once, barely there. Something old-fashioned, something citrus and dry, closer to an eau de cologne than a perfume, that will be gone within an hour and is meant to be. The watch again, its familiar weight settling, and through all of it, the windows are changing. The sky beyond the terrace has gone from peach to rose to violet. The mountains are black. The sea has become a darker version of the sky, and the horizon is a single hard line between two grays. You go out onto the terrace before you leave, and Monaco has begun to light up beneath you. It happens in stages. The streetlights come on first, amber, in long curving strings down the hill and around the harbor. Then the windows, one at a time, in no pattern at all, 10,000 small gold squares appearing across the face of the city. Then the yachts, deck lights along the rails, underwater lights turning the water beneath the hulls a strange luminous green, mast lights standing high and white and still. The casino comes on, floodlit, its pale facade glowing at the top of the square, and the sea, past the harbor wall, becomes completely black. You stand there with your hands on the stone, which is still holding the warmth of the entire day, and you watch the last color go out of the sky. The air is soft, jasmine again, stronger at night. Somewhere below, a car door. Somewhere further, laughter. Then you go. The restaurant is not far. Everything is not far. It sits above the water on the eastern side, with a terrace that hangs out over the rocks, and you have been coming here for years. There is no queue, no lobby, no negotiation at the door. The man at the entrance says good evening, and your name in one movement, and turns without asking anything, and leads you through. The room is low lit, not dark. Lit the way a room should be lit, from below and from the side, with lamps on the tables and nothing overhead, so that everybody in it looks slightly better than they do in daylight. White cloths, heavy cutlery, crystal glasses that ring very faintly when the waiter sets them down, the quiet clash of silver on porcelain from somewhere behind. Your table is at the edge of the terrace. Beyond the rail, the Mediterranean is entirely black now, and you cannot see it at all, but you can hear it, and every so often there is a small white line where something breaks on the rocks below. Far out, there are 2 or 3 lights sitting motionless on the water. Boats at anchor for the night, somebody out there having their own evening. The conversation in the room is low. That is the first thing you would notice if you came here from anywhere else. Nobody is loud. There is no music competing. 20 tables of people talking, and the whole room is quieter than a single table in most places. Dinner arrives without being much discussed. Something from the sea, simply done. Vegetables that taste of the place they were grown. Bread, oil, a wine chosen by the sommelier, after a 2-sentence exchange in which you told him roughly what you felt like, and then trusted him completely, which is the entire correct way to do it. People you know pass the table. A man of about 70 in a linen jacket stops for a moment and puts a hand on your shoulder, and asks about somebody's health, and you tell him, and he says he will call next week, and moves on. His wife smiles from 3 steps away, and does not come over, because there is no need. Then an old friend arrives and joins you, and sits down as though he had always been going to. And you talk for 2 hours. About a house he is restoring, somewhere near Siena, and the ruinous, delightful problem of its roof. About a painting that has come up for sale, and whether it is even genuine, and how the argument about it is more interesting than the picture. About a horse. About Lisbon, and whether Lisbon is finished now. About a book he has been reading about the Venetian Empire, and how nobody learns anything from it. About the winters in London, and why neither of you goes back for them. Nobody mentions money once. That is not an accident. It is not even a rule anybody has stated. It is simply the water you both swim in. Money is assumed here. It is the floor. You do not stand on a floor and admire the floor. It is not a topic, any more than the existence of the chairs is a topic. And that is the great dividing line, the one that runs straight through this square and this city and this whole coast, and it has nothing to do with the amount involved. At one table, wealth is being performed, a voice slightly too loud, a bottle held slightly too high, a watch turned outward on the wrist, something being said for the benefit of people at other tables. At another, wealth is simply present, and nobody is doing anything about it at all, and 2 men are arguing about a Tuscan roof. You could not tell, from the outside, which table has more. You could tell instantly which table has had it longer. The coffee comes. Then the terrace empties slowly. Then the night is genuinely warm, and you are among the last to leave. You walk afterwards, because it is only a few minutes, and the air is beautiful. Casino Square at night is a different place entirely. The floodlights have turned the facade to pale gold, and the copper roofs are dark green against a black sky, and the whole Belle Epoque theatre of it looks more convincing at night than it ever does at noon. The fountains are lit from underneath. The palms are lit from underneath. The gardens are all shadow and shape. Cars move slowly around the square, very slowly, because that is the ritual. Their headlights sweep across the stone. Engines make that low, expensive burble, and then rise briefly and settle again. Somebody accelerates hard up toward the hotel, and the sound cracks off the buildings and fades, and 1 or 2 people turn to look, and most do not. Reflections lie along polished paintwork, red, gold, white, sliding over curves as the cars pass. People are dressed beautifully and are aware of it. Women crossing the square in silk with their heels in their hands for the last few meters. Men in dinner jackets standing in small groups at the top of the steps, talking. Cigar smoke somewhere, perfume moving past you in the warm air. The night air itself is the thing you notice most. Warm as blood, completely still, carrying salt up from the harbor and jasmine from the gardens, and, faintly, from the terrace of the hotel, the smell of coffee. You go into the casino for a while, because it is on your way, and because you know the man on the door. Inside, the ceilings go up and up, chandeliers hanging in the gilded dark, painted panels, marble columns, parquet floors polished to a mirror, and worn slightly in the paths people have taken for 150 years. The private rooms are quieter still, green baize, velvet chairs, the small dry sound of cards being dealt, chips stacking, that particular clicking sound, like a hard rain. A roulette wheel turns somewhere off to the left with the ball rattling in it, and then a moment of complete silence in that corner of the room, and then a sound from the table that is either relief or nothing at all. You stand and watch for a few minutes. You do not play. Sometimes you do. Tonight you do not particularly feel like it, and that is the whole basis on which the decision is made. And standing there, at the edge of the room, watching the faces around the table, something becomes very clear. Every person at that table wants something from this room. They want the next card to be different. They want the ball to fall in one place rather than another. They want the evening to turn, to give them something, to change something. You are surrounded by people hoping to win something, and for perhaps the first time, You understand the strange freedom of needing nothing from the room. You could sit down and play for 4 hours. You could turn around and leave right now. Neither would move anything in you. The outcome cannot reach you. That is not because you are disciplined, or wise, or above it. It is because you already have enough. That is all enough ever means. It means the room cannot get to you. It means you can be in it, and enjoy it, and walk out of it at any moment, and be exactly the same person on the pavement outside as you were at the table. You watch one more spin. Then you turn and walk back out through the gilded rooms, past the chandeliers and the mirrors and the marble, and out into the warm night, and nobody notices you go. The car is waiting where it always is, and you get in, and the door closes, and the square goes silent. You tell him to take the long way. He knows what that means. You go up out of the square and turn right, and immediately you are on the circuit. Because in Monaco, the racetrack is simply the road, and for 50 weeks of the year, it is just how you get home. Up the hill past the hotel, where the tarmac is banked slightly and the streetlights come through the windscreen one after another, sliding across the bonnet. Then the hairpin at the Fairmont, taken at walking pace, the car turning back on itself almost completely, the world swinging round, the buildings above you leaning in. Then down, into the darkness under the hotel, and then the tunnel. The sound closes in. The orange lights run over the roof of the car in a long rhythm, one after another, and the engine note gathers and echoes off the walls. And then the tunnel mouth, and everything opens at once. The harbor is there below you, and it is glowing. Every yacht is lit. Long lines of deck lights doubled in the black water. That green underwater glow beneath the biggest hulls. The masts standing up into the dark with their white lights at the top, absolutely still. The buildings behind them rise in tiers of amber and gold, floor after floor of lit windows, all the way up the hillside until they stop, and the mountain begins. And above that, there is nothing but stars. Beyond the harbor wall, the Mediterranean is completely black, no horizon. No line at all between sea and sky. Just an absence out there where the world stops. You come down along the waterfront. The masts tick past. Warm air comes in at the window with the smell of salt and rope, and stone that has been in the sun all day, and is still giving the heat back. A scooter goes past in the other direction. Somewhere a boat's generator hums. 2 people are walking along the quay with their shoes off. Everything is familiar. That is the feeling that stays with you on this drive, every time. Not admiration, familiarity. You know this road. You know where it dips. You know which corner catches the light off the water. You have come home this way in every kind of weather, at every hour, for years. The car climbs back up through the town, and the streets get quieter and narrower, and the lights get further apart. And then you are home. The lobby is empty and dim, a single lamp. The nightman nods from behind the desk and does not speak, because at this hour nobody speaks. The lift, the hall, the heavy door closing behind you with that soft, final, expensive sound. The apartment is dark and warm. You do not turn on the lights. You put your keys in the dish. You take off the jacket and lay it across a chair. You loosen the collar. You leave your shoes by the door and cross the stone floor in bare feet, and it is cool now, cool all the way across. The terrace doors are still open. You walk out, and you stand there alone, at the wall, at midnight, above Monaco. The stone under your hands is still faintly warm. It has held the whole day. Below you, the city is a slow constellation, amber streetlights curving down the hill. Windows glowing gold in 100 buildings, fewer than there were an hour ago. Port Hercule laid out in its long protective curve, every yacht lit, every reflection lying still and perfect on water that has not moved for hours. Beyond the harbor wall, the black. A single yacht is moving out there, very slowly. Very far away, You can see only its lights, white and small, sliding across the darkness from left to right, and they will take 20 minutes to cross the space in front of you, and you have no idea where it is going, and it does not matter. The night air is warm on your face and moves very slightly. You can hear the sea, not the sound of waves exactly, just a low, continuous breathing somewhere below the city, in and out, older than any of this. A bell, once, somewhere across the water. You rest your hands flat against the stone, and you do not think anything at all for a long moment. And then, quietly, with no drama in it whatsoever, the recognition arrives. This is my life. Not a triumph, not a boast. There is no one to say it to, and no one you would want to say it to. Just a fact, held gently, the way you would hold something warm. This is my life. This is where I live. This is what tomorrow looks like too. And underneath it, something even quieter, which is the real feeling at the center of the whole day. Gratitude. Not for the apartment, not for the boat or the car or the table by the window. For the silence. For the fact that nothing is chasing you, that there is no fear waiting downstairs, that no one is going to knock, that the future is not a threat, that you are safe and private and unawed and unhurried, and that you were able to spend an entire day exactly as you wished and will be able to do the same tomorrow. Almost nobody in the history of the world has had that. You stand there a little longer with the city glowing beneath you. Then you turn and go inside. The bedroom is dark and cool. You leave the doors open because the night is warm, and the linen curtains lift and settle, and the amber glow from the city outside comes through them in a soft haze that fills the room without lighting it. You undress slowly. Everything is laid over the chair. The watch goes back on the bedside table, face down, beside the silver frame you cannot see in the dark. And you get into bed. The sheets are cool linen against warm skin. Your body sinks. The mattress takes all of it. Let that happen where you are too. Let your body sink. Let the bed take the whole weight of you. You have nothing left to hold. Outside, Monaco goes on quietly. A car somewhere far below, going away. The sea breathing. The curtains lifting and settling in the warm air. Your breathing slows. Let it slow. In, gently, and out, slower. And again. You are safe. There is nothing you need to do tomorrow that cannot wait until you feel like doing it. You have time. That is the thing you have most of. Time and quiet, and the whole warm night ahead of you. Nothing is chasing you. Feel your legs get heavier. Feel your hands go soft. Feel your face let go. Around the eyes, around the jaw. The glow of the city comes through the curtains and moves very slightly on the ceiling. You have enough. You do not need to prove anything. Not tonight, not tomorrow, not to anyone. The harbor lights blur a little as your eyes close. The yachts become simply lights. The lights become soft shapes. The city becomes a warm gold haze somewhere beyond your eyelids. The Mediterranean becomes darkness, and the darkness is kind. You belong here. You belong in beautiful places. You are comfortable with abundance. You are comfortable with ease. Your life does not need to be rushed. Life can be quiet now. Breathe. The curtains move. The sea breathes. Somewhere far below, a bell. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to be still. Nothing needs to happen next. Warm air, cool sheets, soft light, slow breath. Everything is taken care of. Everything is already handled. You are safe. You have time. You have enough. Far below, Monaco continues glowing. The harbor is still. The Mediterranean is dark. And somewhere beyond the curtains, the lights of Monte Carlo shimmer quietly against the night. But you do not need to watch them anymore. You have seen them before. You will see them again tomorrow. This is home. There is nowhere else you need to be. Nothing else you need to become. Nothing you need to prove. Tonight, you simply sleep. Warm stone, salt air, linen moving, gold light on dark water. Nothing to chase, nothing to force, nothing to hold. Let go a little more, and a little more. Your body is heavy now. The room is quiet now. The city is far away now. Sleep, sleep, and let the harbor keep glowing without you. Sleep, and let the sea go on breathing. Sleep, safe. Sleep, unhurried. Sleep, with nowhere to be and nothing to prove and all the time in the world. You are home. You have always been home. Rest now. Rest. Sleep into power, guys. Good night.